Yesterday, a woman asked me if her phone case could send text messages without the need to buy a phone. What is the dumbest slash most clueless customer you have ever dealt with? Story 1. When I was working in internet tech support, I had a customer call us up because his net wasn't working. He said he hooked everything up, but the damn thing just won't let me email. He then said, "The cable you sent me was too damn big." I told him that shouldn't be the case, and he said he had to resize it to make it fit into his computer. After a little more questioning, I found out that he had just taken the box that had his network card, his modem, and most importantly, that CD with a huge red sticker on it that says, "Run this first before setting up equipment," and chucked all that stuff aside. He then took out the Ethernet cable and tried to plug it into his 56K modem. When it didn't fit, he took a knife and carved it down to make it fit. I just kind of sat there as he was furious because his service didn't work and we sent him useless equipment. When he finally let me get a word in, I told him he was supposed to run the CD and use all of that other equipment. He said he didn't want the service anymore and told us to cancel it, but I told him he signed a contract and I could set up an appointment for him for a technician to come out. He wasn't interested. I hated that job sometimes. Story 2. Thank you for calling Starbucks. This is Jeff. How can I help you? Yes, where are you located? We're at the corner of Main and Magnolia. And where is that? Do you know where Main Street is? Yes. Do you know where Magnolia Avenue is? Yes. That's where we are. Well, I'm standing at that intersection and I can't find your store. Is it underground or something? Looks out the window and sees a woman who looks lost. Ma'am, turn to your left. Do you see a man in a green apron waving at you? Begins waving at her. Yes. That man is inside a Starbucks. Go there. That's not Starbucks. That's Quiznos. Ma'am, I'm very confident I'm in a Starbucks right now. You're not very helpful. Story 3. I worked at a stop and shop in the produce department part-time for a few years. There was a kid in there named Bobby who sold but had a really good sense of humor. One day we get a call from a customer saying she found a spider in her grapes. He handles it properly and explains that sometimes bugs do come in on the fruit and that he was sorry that happened. She, however, says that she's bringing it in so we can test whether it's poisonous or not. Problem is, we don't do that. It's a bug. Kill it. She comes in 45 minutes later with a spider in a Tupperware container and starts asking me what we're going to do about it. As I'm backpedaling my way through the conversation, Bobby walks up saying, "Oh, you're the spider lady." He grabs the container and notes how big the spider is, which freaks her out a little bit. She asks him what we are going to do with it, and with the most serious tone on, he just says, "Probably going to shake him up and see if he'll fight the other ones we have out back." Then he just walks away. Lady went crazy on me. Well, that's it. Story 4. I work for a bank, and customers will sometimes call to ask how they can access their accounts online and do online banking. I told this older woman to go to bankname.com. She started yelling and cursing at me that I made her go into her email and that she can't believe I'm reading her emails. I tried explaining to her that I can't see her computer as we were talking over the phone, and she probably just got into her email because it was her homepage or the last page she viewed. She wanted nothing of it. No matter how many times I kept asking her to find the address bar and type bankname.com, she just said it kept bringing her back to her email. The conversation lasted 45 minutes. She was yelling the entire time. I pretty much wanted to shoot myself in the head. Story 5. Okay, I want you to open whatever internet browser you normally use, i.e., Firefox, Chrome, whatever it is you use to get online. I just use my email. Should I open up Hotmail? I next made the mistake of explaining that the internet is what they use to get to Hotmail and they should open that. After about 5 minutes, I finally have them inside of an unknown browser, presumably looking at the Hotmail site. Okay, now at the top of your page, you should have 2 bars. One is your address bar, which probably has www.hotmail.com in it, and the other one is a search bar. I want you to delete everything in the bar that says www.hotmail.com and type in whatever website we needed to go to, and then hit enter. Okay, I did it. Awesome. Now on this page, you should see. No, I see lists off a page of freaking Bing search results. Oh, right. Sounds like you did a search instead of going to the web page. What do you see at the top of your page? Lists off search results again. No, above that. Lists off about 5 million different toolbars. Okay, and above that, they finally see the address bar. Alrighty, in that bar, I want you to type in web address. Should I delete what's already in there? Yes. Delete that and let me know when you've done that. Okay? Now type in this. It just brought me back to the same page. Are you sure that's right? I don't think that we need to do that anyway. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, let's do this. Go back to your email. I'm going to just send you an email with a link inside. Well, how do I get back there? Calls like this, and we were supposed to have a 13-minute handle time for troubleshooting and fixing crap. Oi, quitting that job was the best decision I have ever made. Story 6. In high school, I worked at a local hardware store. We also refilled propane tanks for gas grills. After a summer or two of doing 10 or more tanks a day, you get good at guesstimating how full a tank is just by picking it up. One particularly hot day, a customer comes in and sets his tank down next to me and asks for a fill-up. I pick up the tank and inform him that the tank is full and does not need a fill-up. He looks pretty agitated already with this short exchange and says that he checked that it was empty and would I just fill it up. To this, I inquired how he checked. There are several ways to check, one being by the weight of the tank, another is the thermal strip on the side, which his tank did not have. The other is to pour hot water down the side and feel where it gets cold. His reply assured me that this was one blithering idiot lucky to be alive. He said he checked it by holding his cigarette lighter in front of the valve and opening it. To this, I replied, "You ought to write to your congressman and representative because they saved your life today. This tank has an OPD safety valve on it that prevents the gas from coming out without anything attached." He walked out without another word and with a very red face. Story 7. I once had a customer service rep call me to the front of the store because a couple was screaming at her, saying that I sold them the wrong game for their console. I went up to the front and they shifted them screaming back and forth between the two of us. But it was mainly directed at me because I was apparently a greedy salesperson who purposefully sold them a game that was incompatible with the Nintendo DS that I had also sold them, just so I could roll around in my filthy lucre while cackling away at their misfortune. Anyway, in between the yelling, I managed to glean from them that their issue was that the game cartridge wouldn't actually fit into the console. So I picked up the game cartridge and slid it into the machine with no problems. They both shut up and stared at it for a second. The wife began to yell at me again, something about tricking them and making them look bad, while the husband shushed her and apologized. He explained that they had gone home and handed the whole lot to their 4-year-old to figure out, but their 4-year-old kept trying to put the cartridge in backward. Apparently, it never occurred to them to look into the matter themselves, as their toddler had things well in hand, and the obvious conclusion was that I had sold them the wrong thing. On purpose. Story 8. I worked as a lifeguard at a public pool last summer. We had a strict no water wings policy. Those little things are death traps. So this woman is putting water wings on her kid next to the pool, and I politely inform her that we do not allow water wings, and have life vests available for free literally 5 feet from where she's standing. She becomes so infuriated that I would dare to dictate how she treats her child and tons of other crap. So I call my supervisor over, and as he arrives and is speaking to her, the kid jumps in the pool. Water wings slip up his arms, and he's suspended underwater. Jump in and pull him out. The woman is furious that I would have the nerve to touch her child. How dare I? Story 9. Not mine, but a friend told this story in college, and it always amused me. She worked in a camera store, and this was the early 90s, so the pre-digital camera era. This woman comes in wanting to get some photos developed. She hands my friend the whole camera, not unusual. Apparently, a lot of people didn't know how to get the film out after they were done with a roll, so this part wasn't uncommon. My friend examines the camera, and my friend, ma'am, there's no film in here. Woman, that's okay. I still took the pictures. My friend, but there's no film on the camera. Woman, I know, but I took the pictures anyway, so please get them out. My friend, but you would have to have had a film in the camera first. Woman, it doesn't matter. I pressed the button. There are pictures in there. Please get them out. And so on for quite some time. It ended with the woman storming off, convinced my friend was incompetent. Story 10. Man buys video games from me and tries to play them in his DVD player. Screams at me for 20 minutes because it doesn't work. Worked at EB Games when I was 18, in a city in Canada known for its rednecks. A man in his 40s came in and spent at least 3 hours browsing every single title on the wall. He refused my help several times and eventually came up to the counter with 5 brand new games on almost every system we carried. After ringing in a selection of Cabela's hunting, NASCAR racing, and UFC fighting, he paid and left. Several hours later, the man returns. He throws open the front door, it was a standalone store, and yells, "What kind of crap are you running here?" He is red in the face and stomps towards me and throws his bag of games onto the counter. "None of these work! This is a crappy store! What kind of business?" Man rants and yells at me for a minute or so before he decides to take a breath. I asked him, "You tried the games on your Xbox, PC, and PlayStation, and none of them worked?" His reply, "I just got that new player from Walmart this afternoon, and none of these games work!" Of course, he doesn't know the name of the disc player that he bought. After several painful minutes and him showing me the Walmart receipt out of his pocket, he bought a DVD player. Story 11. I used to work at Radio Shack, and I had a lady come in and ask for a radio capable of getting broadcasts from the Middle East. I showed her a few, and she purchased them and asked me to help her tune them. I found some stations from various Middle Eastern sources and tuned them as she stood there with this puzzled look on her face. I asked what was wrong, and she looked at me with this seriously grim expression and said, "How am I supposed to track terrorists if they don't speak American?" Without speaking, I refunded her money and went on the only smoke break I'd ever taken. I don't smoke, so I just ate French fries. Story 12. People are jackasses, and customer service positions suck. I work in a grocery store. We once had a sale on a big thing of fresh chicken. The wings were $9.90 and the breasts were $9.95. Weird pricing, I know, but the signs clearly labeled them correctly. There was also a display for close-dated chicken that was $3 off, and these were also clearly labeled. This jackass guy comes up to my register with 3 chicken packages and throws them down on the belt. I smile and say hello, and he says, "How come you're charging me more for some chicken than the others?" I tell him because the chicken with the red label is close-dated and management needs to sell it quickly, therefore making it cheaper. He then starts getting more aggressive. "Why in the hell did you put out bad chicken? You a retard or something?" At this point, I'm a little shocked, but I grab the chicken and ring it up. "Now wait a minute, I never said I wanted that chicken you're trying to poison me with." I ignore him, void the chicken off the transaction, and ask him if he needs help with anything. He retorts, "Yeah, you dumbass, ring up my chicken." I'm starting to lose it a little, but I grab the first package of chicken, which happens to be close-dated, and scan it. I look up, and he's giving me the dirtiest look I've ever seen. I grab the second package, the $9.90 wings, and scan it. Immediately, "You overcharged me." I show him the sign and the label, but he still rants about me overcharging him. Ready to get this guy out of my hair, I grab the last package of chicken, the $9.95 breasts, and scan it. Shockingly enough, he thinks I'm making a conscious effort to rip him off yet again. "You freaking kike! Who do you think you are stealing my money like that?" After a solid 45 seconds of screaming, he finally pays the total and storms out. The story doesn't end there, however, as he returned the next day. My dad is the manager, and he swung a pretty nice deal on gallons of Simply Lemonade and put them for sale at $1. Still in a bad mood from the night before, I'm pissed when I see him strut up to my register. He throws the gallon of lemonade on the belt and gives me a glare. I make sure not to greet him this time. I scan the lemonade and tell him the total is $107. As you might expect, "You overcharged me." I replied, "No, I didn't." He goes on to tell me I'm a dumbass as the sign says $1. I have to explain to him that his total is $107 because the juice is taxable unless it has more than 70% fruit juice, and Simply Lemonade is only 11% lemonade. His reply, "You're a retard. You're the reason this country is going down the hole. I don't want your damn lemonade." He proceeded to grab the bottle and throw it at a display of paper towels nearby, causing quite a mess. He stormed out screaming, "I'm never spending a dime here again!" Story 13. This happened just the other day. 2 middle-aged women come up to my counter and order their drinks. After ringing them up, I tell them their total, and they tell me they're going to wait for their friend to pay. Perfectly fine. I tell them their drinks will be waiting for them when they're ready. I finish making their order pretty quickly and place their drinks by the register. 5 minutes pass, and they come up asking if their drinks are done yet. I say yes, just been waiting for them to pay, and they proceeded to flip out, saying how they were just planning on coming back and paying with their friend. So, essentially, they wanted me to give them free drinks and trust that they'd come back to pay. I do not think so, Crazy Eye Patch Lady and Co. I do not think so. Story 14. I used to work at an insurance agency. A guy came in for auto insurance, and let's say it came out to $300. Don't remember the exact numbers. He said he'd think about it. I told him the quote was only good for 30 days, and that if he came in after that, I'd have to run his information again, and he said that was fine. Well, he came back in, and it had been more than 30 days, so I had to redo the quote. This time it was $250. He was furious. "This isn't what you told me before," I calmly said. "Sir, I told you before rates can only be guaranteed for 30 days. Also, this is lower than your last quote." Guy: "No, it isn't!" "Sir, this one is $250, and the last one was $300, so this one is lower." Guy: "No, it's not!" At that point, I knew I had lost the argument. If a man refuses to acknowledge that one number is greater than another, there is simply nothing more I can do. I just kind of looked at him dumbstruck until he walked out angrily. Story 15. I answer for doctor's offices after hours, and I get so many idiots calling about the stupidest crap. But I can't give any medical advice. I have to reach and wake up, since I work overnight, a doctor or nurse for anything the patient deems is an emergency. So, when a 14-year-old girl who is 3 weeks pregnant wants to know if it is safe to have sex with her boyfriend at 1 a.m., I have to call the doctor. I also had a mother call in the middle of the night to ask if her daughter could dye her hair after having had an abortion earlier that day. Without even thinking, I said, "Well, it's not going to hurt the baby." The mother was pretty slow, thankfully, so she didn't really catch on, but she did make me wake up a nurse. Story 16. In high school, I worked in a pizza place. An elderly woman called in one day and said that her grandkids were coming for the weekend and their mother had suggested pizza for dinner. She called us up and asked, "What exactly is pizza?" This led to a 40-minute phone call in which I tried to explain all this to someone who lacked even a basic concept of what pizza was. This included how you order, explaining each individual topping, popular combinations, and how to serve it to the kids. When she came in to pick up her order, she still looked completely confused by what a pizza was. She kept peeking into the box to try and figure it out. Story 17. I have a good Clueless one, with naked pics too. I used to work in the help desk of a university in PA. It was the start of the fall semester, so we were full with new students trying to get their PCs through network registration, need AV, updates, etc. I got one girl who was cute and friendly, and I started up her PC and went to work. She's sitting across the counter from me. I can see that she's at least tried to do the process herself, so I ask her if I can poke around for the reg install file. She tells me yes. I check downloads, documents, desktop. Nothing. I ask her if I can check her recycling bin, to which she says, "Yeah, but there's nothing in it." There was something in it. Dozens of nude photos of her and nothing else. The look on my face must have given it away because she instantly turned all red and whispered something like, "I thought it automatically deletes when you put something in there." I showed her how to delete her recycling bin, fixed the issue, and sent her on her way. Bonus: 1 year earlier, a coworker was doing the same thing for a girl, but had to check her computer in. He put it on the back bench, opposite the counter, with the screen facing outward. Her screensaver was just pulling anything from her pictures folder, and sure enough, her nudes started popping up, facing the crowd of freshmen waiting for their computers. Only took a few seconds for a student worker to close the screen and give it back to her, but she was super embarrassed. Hide your pics, ladies. Story 18. Worked at Best Buy about 4 years ago for a summer. A lady came in insisting that her son wanted a PlayStation 3. Then she saw the Wii steering wheel and said, "That will work with the PlayStation, right?" I told her that the Wii is a different console made by a different company, so no, it wouldn't work. She snidely says, "Oh, so I have to buy a whole different console from you guys just for it to work? Typical." Then she adds, "But you gotta make commission somehow, right?" And walks away. I hate when older, technologically illiterate people get frustrated with their lack of knowledge, and then start blaming the system, or in this case, hungry salespeople. Story 19. Worst I had for this was when I worked at Guitar Center. Most customers were okay, but church groups and senior centers were a nightmare to deal with. A few examples. 1. A customer wanted a wireless microphone for announcements. Fine and dandy, I pull out several models and start asking about how often they'll use it, whether it will be for more than just one speaker, etc. After a few moments, the lady asked where the sound comes from. They had no sound system. 2. An angry parent comes in, demanding we return an amp he bought for his kid. It had apparently blown up when he plugged it in, and besides, we had to have sold him a European model as the power cord hadn't really fit the socket. Turns out he had plugged the guitar cable into the wall. 3. An elderly lady came in asking about a simple sound system. She seemed relatively content with it, answering my questions well and seemingly understanding at least the simple concepts about how sound works. Laughter, good times. I'm enjoying this sale. Finally, get everything together, run a package deal, and I'm about to ring her up when she drops the bomb. Where does it hold the electricity? Not really understanding what her question meant, but having little mental red flags pop up, I asked her to explain. They were going on a camping trip, and she wanted to know how this could all work without batteries. I explained that unless she bought a generator, it wouldn't work at all, and I revised what questions to ask customers. Story 20. I work in the print center at Staples. Some older lady brought in her laptop and asked if I could print an email off for her. She booted it up and proceeded to get angry because her internet wasn't working. I explained that she would need to connect to our store Wi-Fi to work. No, that was unacceptable and made no sense. She didn't have to do that at home, and started yelling at me that I did something to her computer to delete her internet. I hadn't even touched her computer at this point. She pushes her laptop toward me and says, "Fine, you do it then." I connected her to our Wi-Fi. Oh god, her computer was a mess. Her desktop was completely covered in icons, and gave it back to her so she could get to her email. "See, this is my internet, I told you." She half mumbles this in irritation. Now, she doesn't know where her email is. Usually it's automatically on there. I ask her what email she uses. Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail. She looks at me like I'm stupid. Why does that matter? At this point, I'm getting pissed off. I have several other customers waiting on me. I messed around on her bookmarks, hoping that it was on there somewhere. Thank God it was. I connected her to the Comcast email site. She doesn't know her freaking password. After a few botched password guesses, she decides to call her son to ask him. I help the other customers while she does this. I come back and she gives me the correct password. I got her email. She doesn't remember which email it was. I'm going one by one in her inbox. Nope. She then tells me it was from a few months ago. Are you kidding me? I had to swing through 3 months of spam to find it. It was an expired spa coupon. I pointed out that it was expired, and she waved it off and told me to print it out. I explained that I would need to transfer to a flash drive to print it off from our computer. She tells me that it should print off from her computer. That's what it does at home. I have a headache at this point. Then, the Windows Update thing pops up. I ignore it while I'm trying to transfer the file over. What are you doing? You can't ignore that. She pulls the laptop toward her and presses Update, which requires it to shut down. No, she didn't postpone it for 4 hours. She does it right now. I am pissed off at this point. The computer turns off, and she turns it back on and lets the 100 plus updates proceed. She's there for at least another hour letting it update before giving up and leaving. She didn't even get her freaking coupon.